Sky burial is simply the disposal of a corpse to be devoured by vultures. In Tibetan Buddhism, sky burial is believed to represent their wishes to go to heaven. It is the most widespread way for people to deal with the dead in Tibet. If a Tibetan dies, the corpse is wrapped in white Tibetan cloth and placed in a corner of the house for 3 or 5 days, during which monks or lamas are asked to read the scripture aloud so that the souls can be released from purgatory. The family members stop other activities in order to create a peaceful environment to allow convenient passage for ascension of souls into heaven. The family lights butter lamps beside the deceased while monks pray and give blessings over the body for 3 to 5 days. During this time, the body is not touched. The funeral day is determined by divination. Family members and relatives do not attend the funeral. Instead, they stay home and pray. Villagers take the body to the sky burial site by horse or car. The master of the sky burial ceremony performs rituals over the body. He then burns incense and tsampa to summon the vultures. In no time, birds begin to circle over the site. The master then proceeds to chop the body into small pieces and makes way for the feasting to happen. If the vultures consume the entire body, it's a good sign. Tibetan folk custom believes that even vultures will not want to consume a human's body if he or she has done evil deeds in life. In most Western and European traditions, once a person dies, it is believed that their soul has departed. However, for the Malagasy people of Madagascar, the spirit can only travel into the afterlife when their body has fully rejoined the earth and their bones have turned to dust. The Malagasy people open the tombs of their dead every few years and rewrap them in fresh burial clothes. Each time the dead get fresh wrappings, they also get a fresh dance near the tomb while music plays all around. This ritual, translated as the turning of the bones, is meant to speed up decomposition and push the spirit of the dead toward the afterlife. For a long time after death, sometimes generations, loved ones must still be honored and cared for. And for the Malagasy people, this means throwing a huge celebration to honor their dead. During the ceremony, loved ones' graves are exhumed and the bodies are carefully wrapped in special straw mats. A procession will then take place, with families carrying their loved ones above their heads back to the village or a special place where the ceremony continues. During this ceremony, family members may ask their ancestors for blessings, share family news with them, or tell stories about their life. The spirits of ancestors are revered in Malagasy culture and it is believed that they can help to protect and bless the family, if properly cared for. When the festival comes to an end, the ancestors are returned to the family tomb, along with gifts, money and alcohol to keep them well looked after until the next turning of the bones. People who live their entire lives at sea prefer to be buried at sea. Since ancient times, ship captains, naval officials, sailors, and even pirates have made it known that their greatest wish for the hereafter is that their remains be scattered on the open seas, where they lived their most adventurous years. Water burial was first practiced in the early years of memorial traditions, and it typically involved wrapping a body in a dignified shroud and lowering it into the sea in a far-off location with deep water, where there's less chance of the partially decomposed remains ever washing up on shore. The body is set in the water while immersed in a specially constructed metal casket or shroud. To quickly degrade over time, shrouds are made of natural fibers, and the shrouds and caskets will need to be weighted down for the body to sink to the ocean below. Water burial is done by scattering cremated remains over water. The usage of biodegradable urns for water burial is a more recent trend. These urns are placed in the water with the ashes inside, where they will eventually decompose. The urns are entirely made of biodegradable materials, so they don't leave any toxic byproducts behind when they break down. Celebrating the life of the deceased can take many forms. A tradition from Varanasi, India, involves parading the dead through the streets, the bodies dressed in colors that highlight the virtues of the deceased. In an effort to encourage souls to reach salvation, ending the cycle of reincarnation, the bodies are sprinkled with water from the Ganges River and then cremated at the town's main cremation grounds. People come from all over to pray, collect sacred water, bathe, and yes, attend to their dead. Some even come to die. Typically, the preparation for the cremation starts immediately when the person dies as the family members wrap the body and take it to the Ganges. Once at the river, the family will rest the body along the bank of the Ganges to purify the soul and to also wash the body. To show respect for the deceased person, a male in the family will cut his own hair, mustache, or beard to show respect for the family member that has passed. The fellow then goes to the Ganges and bathes to purify himself before he adorns himself in white clothing, which is the color of mourning in India. Next, with the body now resting on the wood, the family walks around the body 5 times. Walking around the body 5 times represents the 5 elements of water, fire, earth, space, and air. The funeral pyre of the deceased is now lit and the burning of the body begins. After about 3 hours, the family members at the funeral mix the deceased person's ashes with flowers they have collected and put it all in a large clay pot. The family goes out onto the river and releases the relatives' ashes to the Ganges, hence, releasing the soul to achieve nirvana. In South Korea, there is a shortage of space in graveyards, leading to a law that passed in 2000 requiring families to remove the bodies of their dead from their graves after 60 years. Instead of a decorative urn to hold their loved ones' ashes, people in South Korea are instead turning the ashes of their deceased family members into beautiful beads. These funeral beads in South Korea are typically not worn but displayed in clear containers, usually made of glass, or in dishes. It is a way for the South Koreans to keep their deceased loved ones close by, and honor their memory. Many South Koreans don't see keeping ashes in an urn, or scattering the ashes in nature, as an adequate form of honoring the dead. Korean funerals are deeply rooted in Confucianism, even though few South Koreans identify as Confucian. It is part of a family's duty to their deceased family members to honor their dead and remember them in ways that allow the spirit of the deceased to pass on safely to the afterlife. Otherwise, the spirit of the dead might become a wandering ghost. So, it is very important to South Koreans to honor their dead, and many are choosing the beautiful route of death beads.